Hey, this is Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures, and you are listening to the Ghost Host Sophia Temperilli on LiveParanormal.com.
Well, today it's very exciting. We have on Amy Allan. She's a paranormal investigator, physical medium, healer, and is featured on Travel Channel's hit primetime series, The Dead Files. Everyone visit Twitter at Amy Allan TDF, at The Dead Files TV, Facebook.com, Amy APR, The Dead Files, Instagram at Amy Allan TDF. I'm very excited. I know we had a similar experience on the Queen Mary, so I'm very interested to talk more about that today.
All right, Peter James, do we have Amy?
Come through, speak to me.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Let's see. Amy, you there?
Yeah, hi. Sorry about that.
Oh, no
hey,
problem.
Amy, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me. I never know where I am as far as, like, time periods or whatever, or time, coach, whatever.
It's okay. You're very busy. That's also one of my questions. How are you able to balance, traveling so much, family life, and I know that sometimes after you read a location that it takes a physical toll on you. How are you able to balance all of that?
Well, honestly, it's extremely difficult. I've been on the road now for, I think, about 8 years. About 8 years.
Wow.
And in that time, I mean, I definitely have lost a lot of friendships, really due to the fact that I don't have time, the time that I had before to invest in my friendships. Mm-hmm. And so people kind of get frustrated and upset, and they don't understand. So I definitely have lost a lot of friendships. But, and it is hard to, maintain relationships. I'm very fortunate that my boyfriend, who is also, we're domestic partners, whatever, and we're going on 5 years now. And fortunately, he is in the industry, so he really understands. And we really work on, keeping the communication flowing and respecting downtime. And he understands when I come off the road that I'm basically going to be in bed for, like, the first 3 days. And brain fogged, as I am right now. But, yeah, it's hard. It really is. It's hard.
Definitely. You are very busy. I see you on Twitter, and you're always just a different location pretty much every week or almost every day. I mean, I really can't imagine your schedule. I'm very amazed at how you're able to do all of this. And congratulations on almost 5 years of your relationship.
Yay. Yeah, we just finished. We were in Minnesota. We did a case there, and now we're in Indiana. And we're going to be finishing up here soon, and then we're on to the next location. And then I have, like, maybe a 4-day turnaround at home, and then I'm going to the New Jersey Para-Unity convention. And then it'll be back out on the road for, I think, 18 days. So, yeah.
Wow. And at what age did you discover that you had an ability?
I mean, I was having experiences since I was 4 that I remember. My parents tell me it was earlier, but I don't have any recollection of that prior to the age of 4. But I didn't understand that it was something unusual or different until I was older, like maybe 12, 13, 14, when, other people were like, what the heck is going on around you? Like, because physical phenomena would happen around me, and I didn't understand that people were not seeing the dead like I was. And then I just kind of wanted to be normal, so I kind of went nuts for a little while there. And so I didn't really fully understand what was happening, and as far as being a medium. Like, from the age of 12 or 13, I was like, okay, obviously something is different. I thought I was crazy. Like I said, I went down a very dark path, dealt with demons, it was horrible. And it wasn't until I was 17, 18, 19 that I saw James Von Prague. And even though he has a different ability than I do, it hit home, and I understood, bam. But up until that time, I had always been into reading about the paranormal, the supernatural. I had a thirst for that. Probably, my houses were all active. There were always dead people. There was always physical stuff. But nothing ever made sense to me. It was all more of the science behind it, parapsychology. It wasn't so much, people with abilities talking about it, or, not many books out about it at that time. So, yeah, it was hard. It was an interesting.
Are you the only one in your family with an ability?
No, no. My father through the males, and my brother. They're both like me, so physical mediums. And then my mom through her female line, and she's more of an empath and telepath. So they were more the psychic.
It definitely seems like it runs in the family then.
Huh?
It definitely sounds like it runs in the family then.
Big time.
So,
I know you had mentioned James Von Prague, but I know you also used to watch Peter James, and you met Dr. William Roll. Can you tell us how Peter and Dr. Roll played a part in you developing your psychic abilities? I know that Dr. Roll also tested you and then mentored you.
Well, Peter, it wasn't until, I think it was the late 80s. So the late 80s, I was in my, how freaking old was I? I was old. Maybe it was it was the early 90s, I think, that I started getting into him. And I think I was hitting my 20s then. And when I saw him, he was way closer to what it, he was having experiences that I could completely relate to, unlike James Von Prague, and that he was an investigator. And that was also more my area of expertise, was doing, walks and not so much the readings, So that really called out to me, was watching another sensitive who is doing paranormal investigative work. And that really inspired me and made me feel less alone and weird. And I didn't have another experience like that until I saw Lisa Williams on her show. So it was Peter and then Lisa, and those were the two who really I felt a connection with. And then, although I've never met or had the pleasure of meeting Lisa Williams or Peter, unfortunately, but they really did impact me. And then Dr. Roll came into my life was in the late 90s. I think it was around 97, 98. And he started with testing me, and then around 2001 was when he was mentoring me until a few years before his death. So.
Well, that's definitely amazing, and I know what you're talking about. I don't really have an ability, but I can pick things up, and I had never met anyone until you, who had seen the man in the pool area on the Queen Mary, and so that was definitely really amazing for me to actually, meet someone who knew what I was talking about.
That was, yeah. It's. I am surprised that you haven't. I thought that you were more in touch with your abilities.
I don't know.
That later.
Yeah, I'm starting to say I can pick things up, but before I was like, no, that's just a coincidence. I don't know what you guys are talking about. My mom's like, you know things. I'm like, no.
She's a little unsure, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I was actually talking to my friend who's with me, and she's a physical medium too. And she also worked with Dr. Roll, and she was only, I think, 18 at the time, 17 maybe? 18 at the time. And we were talking about how next time she comes out to California that that we should all have dinner and talk about your abilities.
Oh, definitely.
I would love that. I'm actually 18 right now, so that would be a weird correlation how I met you at 17 and now I just turned 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Yeah. So that's interesting. But yeah, and I mean, nobody else was talking about the man in the pool area until I run into you. And it's like, yeah, and that's how you get validation. People with similar abilities are going to have similar experiences versus, like, if a psychic knower has been down there, they may not perceive him. It may be something or someone, an entity or dead person that a physical medium will see. That's why it's important to have different people who have different types of abilities working on the same case independent of one another so that they can confirm their correlations and also get the whole story. So it's important to have like a physical medium, a psychic knower, an empath, and maybe another physical medium that all go independent of one another so they can confirm and get the entire story because different abilities perceive differently. So that was validation. You and I were talking about him because you and I had that conceptual experience. Mm-hmm.
That was definitely amazing. I mean, I've seen him since I was probably about 9, but he was never as intense. He stayed more towards the dressing rooms, and then as the years went by, it seemed like it got a little bit more intense until what he is presently, and it was really amazing to finally, meet you, and you had the same experiences I did. I still can't get over that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to have validation at like any time in your, while you're working because, we do feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one who saw this person and nobody else has said anything about it anywhere in the text or in the studies. But then you meet somebody who had no idea what you saw, what you experienced, and then there's that correlation, and that brings weight to it. That brings the validation. So yeah, it's always exciting to to get that.
Definitely. And how do you receive your impressions? Are they full figural apparitions? Are they pictured images, vocalized communications, vibrational impressions, or how are they received for you?
Well, I would say that my dominant is definitely physical mediumship. So that means that back in the day, like during the spiritualist movement, unfortunately a lot of physical mediums were allowing dead people or entities to take over their bodies physically. And then they were able to manifest things physically around them. Typically, a side ability that physical mediums have is psychokinesis. So they're able to physically affect their surroundings. But anyways, but how a physical medium interprets the information, the energetic information, is via the same senses day to day. So they see them like they see the living, full body, completely manifested. You can hear them, you can see them, using all of the same senses that you have, the five senses. But a physical medium is hypersensitive, and they also have the ability to allow the dead or entities into their body, which is not good. You should never, ever, ever do that. Because
definitely.
you'll die. But eventually you'll end up dying from it. So.
Yeah, I definitely would not want that. That does not sound fun. But I know you also, besides working on the Dead Files, you helped aid law enforcement. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved with that?
I got involved with that. Initially, it was through, it was in Arizona, and I initially was working with a former LAPD homicide detective, and he tested me for about a year and a half, and then I started getting calls from various police agencies around the country to help with missing persons, unusual death cases, things like that. And then I started doing, having workshops with the new recruits, the new police officers, to help them with their intuition, as they like to refer to it, to be able to better access it and hone in on it, to help them with their cases. So that's basically, and then we got into doing like Homeland stuff and working with that agency. So yeah, it was an interesting experience. Yeah, very intense.
It's definitely very amazing what you do. So I can't imagine. You do so much. So thank you for everything you do too.
It was a struggle coming to terms with it, and then it was about, trying to help my friends and myself, really, to understand what was going on with us, and then how to best access it, utilize it, and let the public know, what you should look for when you're working with people who claim to have abilities, and how to best approach paranormal investigations. And so it's all just, making the best out of this situation.
Definitely. And I know we have to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back with more questions.
This is Nick Groff, executive producer of Ghost Adventures, the original documentary, and Ghost Adventures Season 1 through 10, and executive producer of Ghost Stalkers, author of Chasing Spirits, the building of the Ghost Adventures crew, and founder of NickGroffTours.com. You are listening to the Ghost Host Sophia Temperilli on LiveParanormal.com. Tune in.
Thank you again, Amy, for coming on.
Well, thank you again for having me.
So, how did the Dead Files come about? I mean, you do such amazing work on there, and you work with Steve Dishavi. Did you initially pitch to producers, or were you casted? And
it actually, the way it happened was this production company, Painless Production, years before, back, I think it was like in 2003, they had reached out to me. One of the people that worked there had reached out to me, this really lovely lady. And unfortunately, at that time, I was under contract with CBS. So it was several years later, I think like 2007, when they reached out to me again, and this woman was like, we are looking for, a paranormal show with strong women. And I was like, look, because by that point I had been through the ringer with these production companies and producers, And I had never agreed to do anything because everybody wanted to manipulate things, and that was not okay with me. So I just basically, I was actually ready to leave the industry permanently. And I said, look, there's one show I want to do. It's based on my scientific method. And if we don't do it this way, just go away. And so after several discussions and giving them, the newspaper articles that had been done that outlined the method, sending them the black and white method, and lots of discussions, we came to an agreement. Even though I typically work with, like I said, other sensitives, I understood that due to the time limit, we wouldn't be able to feature more sensitives, but that we would maintain the integrity as far as the fact that they would not tell me anything about locations. For many years, I would travel not even knowing the state that I was flying into, so I'd have to pack like 200 pounds of luggage. But anyways, but they did hold to all of the integrity, and also they had apparently been working with Steve for quite some time and trying to get him into other projects. And so they brought him in on this, and he was kind of like super skeptical, which is what I wanted, because all of the detectives, et cetera, that I had worked with were always skeptics, and I appreciate skeptics very much. They're pivotal in this research. Yeah, they brought them on, and we did a test walk because Steve was just like not feeling this. And after the test walk, he was shocked and was intrigued enough to move forward with it. And the production company felt comfortable after a couple of test walks that I actually could do what I said I could do. So that's pretty much how the show came. And then Jim Casey put in the sketches so that people could actually see what I was seeing, which was absolutely instrumental. Yeah, so it was just the perfect people at the right time.
Definitely. I know you see on the show that Steve still looks shocked when you show him the sketch that you had relayed to the sketch artist, and he gets like the actual picture of the person who had died there. He still looks very amazed, even today.
Yeah. I mean, I am still too. There's times, I mean, that's the thing is that you're never, like when you and I met and we're talking about the same person and we're both freaking out, you never lose that. Like, if you're truly, an open-minded skeptic, you're never going to lose thrill that you get when there is validation and these correlations. Right. I mean, it is always still shocking. So, yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, I know psychics who have told me stuff about my life, even recently, that, I mean, one of them told me that I would be getting a car soon, and I'm like, there's no way that's happening, I've been waiting for a car for a while, and a week later I got one, and I've been in the field 10 years, and that still surprised me.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know too many of them.
Exactly.
What kind of descriptions do you give to make the drawing so accurate to the photo?
Well, it's been a long, arduous process. In the beginning, those sketches could take up to 9 hours.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It would be, more often than not, I had better experiences working with police sketch artists as far as doing faces and people, and then regular artists when it came to the situations. So it was always difficult. And if it was just an artist who didn't really do, what are they? People sketches? I don't know. Portraits. If they weren't familiar with doing portraits, that could take up to like 9 hours to get it perfect. But now I've gotten freaking my head on straight, and now I do pre-sketches. And so with me doing the pre-sketches, we've actually gotten the time down to like maybe 3 hours.
Wow.
Right.
Definitely,
Wow.
I know what you mean about that.
My mom is actually, she's a very talented artist, and anything that I need help with, not for paranormal, but just anything she needs to help me with for drawing, she tells me pre-draw it, and then I can go from there.
Yes, it helps so much. Yes, absolutely. So many years I didn't do it.
I know my mom
Look at what time you
said,
saved.
Yeah, she said, I cannot get inside your head. You have to pre-draw this, and then I can go from there and make it look better.
Absolutely.
And I know some psychics have an angel or a spirit guide that conveys messages. Do you as well?
Yeah, I have, right now I have 3 guides that I work very, very closely with. And one of them actually just left, so I was sad because she was actually one of my best friends in life. And I was very fortunate to have gotten to work with her after her death for many years. But she just made her complete transition, so I kind of was a little sad about that. And this is the first season I've done this show without her, so it's kind of like bittersweet, you know. But I do have my 3 other guides that I work very, very closely with. 2 of them are family members, and one of them is a guide that I have had since I was a child, and I've been very connected with him my entire life. So, yeah, fortunate. Yeah, they help me a lot.
I know you were saying one of your spirit guides just crossed over. What are your theories on the term afterlife, and where do you believe that place to exist?
I really do shy away from that. I feel like as a sensitive, I don't have the right to really say this is what is absolutely happening on the other side, because I was raised a certain way, and that's going to color my idea, even though it's completely different than, you know, how I was raised. What I've been shown is very different than the Catholic upbringing I had. But I know that still, you know, to some extent, that's going to play into my perceptual experiences. And so I don't feel that I have the right to tell anybody, you know, what I, you know, really think is going on over there. I'm probably going to do it in my book to some extent with a huge disclaimer, and I want it that way so people can see in black and white, look, I'm biased. Take this for what it is, and that is a biased perception of what happens when you die. So, yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about it right now. So.
Definitely. I was just curious because I was also raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I really had no theories on even what ghosts could be because I was so young when I started. But one day in religion class, we were talking about purgatory, and I started to think maybe the ghosts were in purgatory because they're not here from like the 1500s and the 1600s. They start to disappear at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, I know when they do, and what I've seen from that is, I mean, I've encountered, when I lived over in Yugoslavia, I did encounter a lot of extremely elderly dead. They were very, very, very old. But yeah, they do, at a certain point, they start to lose their consciousness and they start to dissipate. So I too have noticed that, and that I could see how people would think that the dead that are still here who haven't crossed over are in some kind of purgatory. But yeah, through experiences, it seems a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I will probably never know until that point in my life what actually happens, but that's all I can come up with in this moment of my life.
Yeah. I mean, I had that completely same idea when I was younger, because of the Catholic background, was that these people were in purgatory. Yeah.
Definitely. That ties in with the Catholicism. So that's really where I got it from.
Exactly. Yep.
Amy, what advice would you give family members and kids that have psychic abilities or home haunting issues?
It's so hard. You can't really give blanket statements to questions like that because it just so depends on the family dynamic, how the child feels about things, how the adults in the house feel about things, various religious backgrounds, ideologies, beliefs. So it's hard. You can't. It's so unique to each person. But I would say in general with children, I believe that children, if you want them to remain open, is just to create an environment that you're not judging them, you're not, you're just listening, you're giving a sympathetic ear. You're also not going overboard and telling them, heightening the experience. You don't want to do that either. So it's don't suppress them and don't, go overboard and be, having them go do investigations when they're, 3 years old, So it's this middle ground of just creating a welcoming, comfortable environment for your child to come and talk to you. You're listening. And then, having them keep journals, picture journals or diaries about their experiences, talking to them, checking in every month, what's in, do you want to share your diary? Do you want to share your pictures? You want to talk about this more. So just kind of being that way until they're a little bit older. And then they can make the decision on if they want to continue opening or if they don't want to.
Definitely. And I know along with being in the paranormal field that people can get psychic attacks or just not be protected, have things follow them home. Is there anything you would recommend or personally do to prevent or at least defer something like that?
If you're going to go to a place that, to be possibly active, definitely telling your guides and positive dead that you have around you to lend their protection while you're there. And then when you leave, I'm all about hey, let's sage the car, let's sage each other. Okay, and then saying no one is coming with us, and then asking your guides and positive dead to make sure no one comes home with you. But it's not, it happens.
Definitely, and my parents always tell before we leave in a location just for the spirits to stay there, because I lived in a haunted house. I don't want to do that again. I love the paranormal, but I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, it gets tiring.
Yeah, it's a little too much. Also,
your safe
I know.
space.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, just that you need a safe space, where you can, just be.
I know we're coming towards the end of the show, but I have 2 more questions. One, where do you believe the most haunted place in the world to be, and why?
Well, since I haven't been all over the world yet, right. I am going to speculate here. Probably because I want it to be. Okay. the forest in Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. What is the name of that place?
I don't know. I know it's the suicide forest.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't know the exact name.
Oh, my gosh. Like, I really, really want to go there. I think it would be mind-blowing and eye-opening to see what's going on there, what's causing it, you know, what entities are there, you know, all of these different possible factors that could be causing it to be such an intense location. So, I mean, I haven't been there, but at this point, I think that would be possibly one of the most active locations.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It seems like a very interesting place to investigate. My only hesitation would be I took law and forensics, and I would be a little afraid of the non-paranormal side of what I would see there.
Oh, the bodies and such?
Yeah.
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 But yeah. That's my only hesitation about that one. But I know we're
Towards the end of the show, are there any upcoming events, productions, websites, or broadcasts that you wish to mention?
Gosh. Well, there's the New Jersey event that's coming up, and I think it's called the New Jersey Para-Unity, right? I'm terrible with these things. I'm so bad at, like, promoting
It is, yeah,
myself.
I saw it on your, yeah.
Okay, good. So that's coming up in May? When is that? May or May? Okay, I think that's in May or June. And then the show is premiering the new season May 6th, so I know that.
Cool.
And then nothing until Missouri State Penitentiary, which is in September, I think. Just check out my Twitter.
Well, you're definitely very busy, so I can totally understand why you wouldn't know exact dates. You would have way too many in your head if you knew everything exactly.
Yeah. But Amy, thanks so much for coming on it. And we'd love to, like with your friend, we'd love to get together with you and talk with Sophia. And also, too, I mean, thank you so much. And yeah, it's going to be a hard close to the show. But, yeah, well, I'll be reading the plugs, too, for a second. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And, yeah, I'm definitely going to reach out when I'm off, and hopefully we could do dinner. That'd be great.
Definitely. I would love that. So I hope.
And you're welcome anytime.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks, Amy. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks. Bye.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, Sophia, fantastic show.
Definitely. Amy is such a great guest. I mean, she's so nice. So everyone definitely go check out her Twitter for dates on all the events. She's very busy, so I completely understand. But I want to thank you everyone for listening, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Yeah, it's the Ghost Host Show with Sophia Temperilli on liveparanormal.com. Again, Twitter, @AmyAllenTDF. That's @AmyAllenTDF. It's the same for Instagram as